Welcome again. Aloha to everyone. My name is Kelly Sim. I'm actually from Casey Family Programs in Seattle, Washington. So I'm calling in from Seattle. But I've been a partner with the Hawaii Kaika Partnership for 3 years or so now. And before that, my predecessor from Casey was also involved with Hawaii Kaika. So we are a partner from afar, but are big believers in the network and the community that is the Hawaii Kaika Partnership. So I am privileged to be here today to share a little bit with you. But most of the sharing is really actually going to be by our VIP folks that I will be introducing a little bit later. But I just wanted to share with you kind of the initial format for today, and then we'll kind of get started. But before we do that, about 17 participants here. Would love to just kind of quickly, very quickly, get a round robin of who you are, sort of, what you do or what organization you're with, and how long you've been doing it. Who you are, what organization you've been with, and how long you've been doing it. Ashley, I don't know if you're able to put that in the chat for us, so that, folks, as we go along, they kind of go, oh, what was it again? So who you are, what you do or what organization you work for, and how long you've been doing it. Okay, so we're going to make it fairly brief, and I'll just call folks out so you can just kind of go, and then we'll get to sort of the meat of the presentation. But we'd love to kind of know who we're with today. So let's go with Shelley Brown.
Hello, good morning. So I'm Shelley Brown. I work at Maui Family Support Services. I'm a clinical supervisor that is working with the DHS Home Visiting Services program, doing the Parents as Teachers curriculum.
Awesome.
Thank you.
And how long was the other question, actually? I saw how long you've been doing the work.
How long have I worked at Maui Family Support Services?
Yep.
Oh, I've been at Maui Family Support Services for 6 years.
Nice. Thank you very much. Okay, Jamie Galais.
Hi, I'm Jamie Galassi. I work for Maui County Support Services. I'm a parent educator under Shelley Brown. She's my supervisor, and I've been there for almost 2 years now.
Thank you very much, Jamie. Tina.
Aloha, I'm Tina Kiabakro. I work at the Maui Family Guidance Center. I've been there, I think this is my 24th year.
Wow.
I'm also part of the Hawaii Kaika Leadership Hui, and I am so glad that this conference is underway.
and I'm soon to be done.
I'm mahalo to everyone who is doing the work out there on the ground, and I really hope you all enjoy this conference and you're able to refill your bucket so you can continue to do what you do. Mahalo to all of you.
Indeed. Thank you, Tina. Shauna.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Shauna Orta, Director of Maui County Programs at Child and Family Service. I've been with CFS for 18 years in October.
Wow. Amazing. Marie.
Hello. So Mari with Liliuokalani Trust on Maui. And I'm a direct service specialist, so counseling and support for children and their families. And I've been in the field of helping children and families for over 25 years.
Wow.
And with Liliuokalani Trust for 4 years.
Awesome. Very good. Thank you. Leilani.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name's Leilani. I'm a care coordinator with Imua Family Services. I've been with them for about 8 months now, but I've worked in various other capacities within healthcare and with pediatrics and stuff. So glad to be here.
Awesome. Thank you. Lily.
Hi, my name's Lily. I'm a youth facilitator at Maui Family Support Services, and I just started last month.
Okay. All right. Welcome to the field. All right. Becky? If Becky is there. If not, we'll move on to Gina. It's a little hard to know if, oh, there we go.
Hi, my name is Jenna.
Jenna.
I'm working with Maui Family Support Services, and I'm a youth services facilitator, and I started in February of this year.
Okay. Also, welcome to this field. Thank you, Jenna. And then Cher would be.
Hi, I was trying to undo my video and my mute. Sorry, my name is Cher McBee. I too work with Maui Family Support Services. I am the clinical specialist. I'm also a CSAC. I've been in the social service field for almost 40 years.
Wow.
And with MFSS for about 6 years.
Excellent. Thank you, Cher.
Thank you.
Okay, Katie.
Hi, good morning. I'm Katie Makokalani. I am with the Department of Health, Public Health Nursing branch here in Lanai. I'm the paramedical assistant. I assist the public health nurse. I've been with the department for about 8 months or so.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. And Becky? Did I get to Becky earlier? I can't remember now.
She might be in something else right now, but Becky works with Child Welfare Services, and she's been there for over 15 years. So
Nice. Nice. Thanks, Danny. And Danny, maybe you could do yourself as well since you're at it.
Hi, I'm Danny Egeberg from Child Welfare Services. I've worked here for almost 9 years now. I do case management and some investigations. I'm part of the standby team that goes out in the middle of the night at weird hours. But yeah, I work with the families, the kids, the parents, extended, and a lot of the people that are on this right now. I work with you guys too. So it's nice seeing some familiar faces.
Yes. Excellent. Thanks, Danny. Heidi.
Hi, so I'm Heidi Allencastre. I work as the family navigator for Maui Family Support Services and Hawaii Kaika Partnership. I've been with the partnership. I'm moving into my 3rd year right now. And then it's been about 6 years total that I've been in like this, field. Thank you.
Thank you, Heidi. Ericka?
My name is Ericka Chavez. I work as a case manager for Child and Family Service, the voluntary case management unit of Child Welfare Services, which is the diversion program to keep families out of the court system and children out of foster care.
Excellent. And I think finally, but not least, Ashley.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ashley Minobe Nakua. I'm with Imua Family Services. I've worn many different hats, and I'm currently a senior accountant. I have done this for, I think I just made 8 years or something like that. Ericka knows. But, hanging in there for the long haul.
Very nice. Thank you, Ashley. Did I miss anyone that wanted to say hello? Okay. All right. Well, thank you for doing the introductions. It's always good to know who's in the room. And as I said, today's session is going to be, okay, and where's my PowerPoint? It's going to be sort of a dual format, meaning there's 2 sort of separate things, but related. And really, it's going to be a brief data presentation to start with, followed by a panel discussion, as I said, of some of the VIPs that are here in our room. And that will be the bulk of our time together. Our title, Ho'ola, to give life, heal, is kind of a double entendre, right? It's sort of a straightforward definition of Ho'ola, but then it's also a charge in that we're saying in order to give life, we also need to heal. We ourselves need to heal, right? And so that's how we came up with a title for this session. And really, the data presentation is just to really help us celebrate, because you kind of think, well, what does this have to do with giving life and healing? But it's really, we spend so much of our time laser focused on all the problems we have as a system, as an agency, for families. We spend a lot of time there. but we often miss out on celebrating the accomplishments too, right? And maybe you do that within your team or in your agency, and you do the celebration well, and you actually encourage one another. But the nice thing about sort of looking at it with a broader lens too is also that all of what you do individually and as an agency, it all rolls up into this collective accomplishment, and it's really looking at how all of us do this work every day, day in and day out. But when we look at it collectively as a state, there's some really good things that are happening, and you're contributing to that all of those days. As somebody said, I'm just like pushing along, right? All that pushing along has actually contributed really well and nicely to our collective impact as well. So I did want to just share a little bit of data, just to kind of see where Maui's at, right? How are we doing? And in order to do that, I need to be able to share screen. And so I'm going to try and do that right now. And there it is. Okay. Okay, so hopefully you guys can see this PowerPoint. I'm going to put it now in slideshow mode. Okay. So, oh, and then of course, oops, let me go back. How do I not do this in PowerPoint mode then? I'm sorry. I should have asked Ashley just to do this. She's like, do you need help? And I said, nah, I got it. But I'm just going to actually do it this way, because otherwise I will not be able to see my notes that I wanted to actually walk through. Okay, so we're actually going to start with this. So Hawaii basic measures. And so when I talk about data, I do want to say most of the data here is what we call AFCARS data, and that is the federal reporting system that all of the states have to report to, that are the same across the board. And this is how we sort of compare apples to apples, right? And so it's called AFCARS, Adoption and Foster Care Analysis and Reporting System. And there's usually sort of a 2-year delay in the public reporting of all of these measures. But we do have, yes.
Sorry, did you want them to be looking at the notes or the PowerPoint?
Oh, sorry. Sorry. Are you guys seeing the notes?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me try that again.
I think you
There we
can
go.
share it separate though. If you select a specific screen, you can share the PowerPoint and still have your notes on the side. I don't know if that works for you.
You know what? I tried that just a little second ago and it wasn't letting me do that. So can you see it now?
Yeah, we can see
the PowerPoint?
the
Okay. I'm not actually going to put it into the slideshow mode because that's when I lose my notes. So hopefully you guys can still see this. Can you see this okay?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay. And I'll talk through it.
Kelly, are you able to slide the viewer on the bottom to make it a little bigger?
Make it a little bit bigger?
Yeah.
See. How's that?
Yeah.
More bigger?
Thanks.
Can you see
no,
all?
That's fine. It gets cut off, so that's okay.
Cut off a little bit. Okay. Well, I'll just kind of scroll through as I talk. Okay. So let me make that a little bit bigger and scroll it here. Okay. Can you see the left percent substantiation? Okay. All right. Sorry for that. I was hoping we'd have a little more time to get situated before we started the session, but it didn't work so well to do that. So it's all right. We'll make it work.
It's okay. We're good.
Yeah. So okay. So now you're looking at these Hawaii basic measures. These are AFCARS data. The first column here is called percent substantiations, right? Basically, it's once a child is screened in by an investigator, what percent are then substantiated, right? So this is moving further from the initial investigation to what percentage then are substantiated. So that if you look at this, the red line is the state. So this is the state of Hawaii. And then the gray line is the national So you basically have a comparison from state to national. The left axis, the y-axis, is the percentage, and then, of course, the x-axis is the time. So we've got about 5 years of trends that we're looking at. So when you look at substantiations, the state has been, over time, higher than national, right? And so you might say, how is that a strength? But what we really want to focus on is the trending over time. Because yes, we can look at a point in time, but it doesn't tell us as much as we need to see as far as a trend over time. And within 5 years, we have made, the state of Hawaii has made a big improvement, right? We've actually decreased the percent of substantiations over time. Now, there is a necessity for substantiations, but oftentimes a lot of families, if they would have had services and supports available to them, and the fact that there's a lot of other biases that are involved in substantiations, we generally say safe reduction in care, or people or children entering care, is the best way to go. And so we're going to assume at this point that these are safe reductions. And when you look at the numbers right now, it's like there's a 10% reduction over 5 years. That is pretty huge, right? So we should celebrate that. Then you look at the in-care rate, and the in-care rate, the rate is the rate of children in foster care, right? And this also, what we want here is that the in-care rate would be lower than national, which is where we're at. Hawaii historically has been lower than the national numbers around how many children enter care, right? Again, safely keeping families together and not having them enter care. And again, here for Hawaii, for the state, we've gone from, this is a rate of 1 per 1,000, right? And 5 per 1,000 to 4 per 1,000. So again, a decrease in the in-care rate, which is a good thing, right? So this is also an improvement. The other thing about the in-care rate too is that we want less children coming into care, but we also need children exiting care as quickly and safely as possible. So we don't want long stayers. If kids are not exiting care, this in-care rate starts to increase. Even if you take less kids in care, if we're not sending kids home or into safe permanent placements, then that in-care rate will continue to increase. So we both need the entry rates to decrease and the exits to increase for the in-care rate to be lower over time. Kinship care. This is an area that historically, and of course, this is kinship care are kids who are with either blood relatives or with fictive kin. We also consider families who see, sort of aunties and uncles who may not be blood related, but they consider them kinship care because they're known to their children as aunties and uncles. And so percent in kinship care has always been a strength for Hawaii. And that has been pretty stable over time. And likewise for, the national comparison, it's pretty flat over time. But Hawaii has always had a very strong outcome for children in kinship care. So this is an area that is always celebrated, and we always want to see sort of a kin first policy in all of our states. And so Hawaii is obviously doing very well in that area. And finally, the percent in care 2+ years. This is who I mean by long stayers. So these are kids who have been in foster care for over 24 months. And for Hawaii, it's been relatively stable for the last 5 years, and is also doing better than the national, right? So the national averages is actually gotten higher. And we have seen this with many other states on the continent where long stayers, for some reason, they are not able to find placement before the 2-year mark. And so that number has been increasing nationally. But for Hawaii, it has actually stayed pretty stable at 24% of children in care that are long stayers. So this also is a good thing to keep stable and hopefully to decrease over time, even while nationally it continues to rise. So all of these areas are Hawaii is either making improvements or have been very stable in some of these outcomes, right? So these are all good things to be celebrated. Then we move on to these are Maui basic measures. And so here we're looking at just the Maui County. So this also includes Molokai and Lanai, I think. And so this is for Maui County. We looked at the substantiations before, and now you look at blue. The blue lines are Maui County data. The red is still the state, and then the gray is the federal. And you'll see that Maui County is higher than the state or national, but has been decreasing significantly over time. Again, we really want to look at these trends, right? And so that's a really good thing. So even though there was another spike in 2021, it's actually come back to state numbers, right? This one, a little bit different than what we saw earlier. Entry rate, as we were saying, we want safe reductions in the entry rate. So we don't want children being removed from their parents if at all possible. And even though for Maui County, it's been fluctuating, by 2025, Maui County is now back at state and national levels for entry rates. Right. So that's a good thing. So I'll be curious to see where we go in 2023 and 24 as far as looking at those trends over time again, right? Because it has been a little bit erratic over time. Then the final one for Maui is the in-care rate, and we saw that earlier. And kind of like the entry rate, you have this sort of increase in 2020, and then you have a drop by 2022, which is lower again than national again, right? So, yes, higher than national levels, but by 2022, a lot of it has come back to national and state levels, which is a good thing. The final slide really is this is another kind of data point. The Child and Family Service Review, they do that. They submit that to the feds also. And that has just different kinds of outcomes. And so one of the outcomes that we looked at that was a positive for Maui was permanency in 12 months. So unlike the long stayers at 24 plus months, so these are kids that have found permanency within 12 months, right? And so when you look at that, we want the numbers to be higher, right? So when you look at the blue for Maui County is actually doing better, significantly better than national or state in finding permanency for youth and children within 12 months, right? So this is a really good thing. So I just want you guys to just stop and give yourselves a little pat on the back because all your work is contributing to all of these great outcomes, right? Like, let's not take this for granted. This is hard work. And we talk about how this, heart work is hard work. This is hard work. And this is, year in, day in, week in, month in, year in, after time after time. And it takes that kind of dedication to be able to see this kind of outcome over time. Right. So thank you so much for all that you guys do, and for all the contributions of each individual, but your agencies as well. And I want to celebrate you all. I wish I could just I don't know, give you guys something to just thank you for your dedicated hard work, but all we can do is just give you gratitude. So thank you for all that you're doing to make a difference in the lives of these children and families. Any questions before we move into our panel? Any questions about the data or anything surprising to you?
I put in the chat how much, did COVID and shutdown impact the numbers, and will we not see that until maybe another 2 years of reporting?
Yeah, yeah. Actually, what's surprising a little bit is with the 2020 numbers, we thought that there would be a big spike in the number of entries in 2020, but we actually saw um, or actually, no, the reverse. We thought there would be less reports, right? Because they weren't sort of seen in schools or in daycare, or there weren't these eyes, as we talk about them, eyes on the children. And so we thought there would be less reports, and in some cases there were. But just when you look at it nationally, it actually didn't impact it that much. The numbers actually were pretty consistent across other years. And in fact, I think we had a little bit of a spike in entries in 2021 when kids were a little bit back into schools or in more public settings. But I think we will, as far as permanency, as far as some of these other ones that are more sort of long term, I think we will yet to see what kind of impact that might have had. So yeah, so we'll see about that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so I don't want to delay anymore because the real stuff is really with our panelists. I want to invite Danny, Egeberg, Heidi Allencastre, and Danny. Who did I miss? Ericka. Sorry, Ericka Chavez. So these three folks are going to be our panelists for our session today, and really they are just going to talk a little bit more about like how they do resiliency. Like, how is it that they can continue to do this work when it is such hard work? And we've heard, I mean, anybody on this panel or in the whole room could probably speak to this too, right? There are some folks who've been doing this work for 40 years, I heard, some for 20 something years. So you've been at this for a very long time, and you probably have some tools and your sort of secret sauce to doing this work and continuing to do this work yourselves. And we'd love for you to be able to chat that into the chat as well as as they're answering the questions themselves. Like, if you want to share your thing and how do you do this? We'd love to hear from you all as well. But we're just gonna kind of talk through a few questions and then at the end, if we have some time, we might have a little bit of Q&A, but we probably won't because it's already 20 after. But we'll kind of see how it goes, and then we'll move on from there. So panelists, thank you so much for joining us today. I had to track these folks down because they're so busy, and yet I know they're doing such good work for our children and families. And so if you could just share what you do, and how long you've been doing it. And I know we said a little bit of that in our initial welcome, but if you could say a little bit more or just restate what you said, I'd appreciate that. So why don't we start with Danny?
Hi, I'm Danny from Child Welfare Services. So I've been working out of the Maui office for almost 9 years, currently as a case manager, where I'll go out to the families, work with them. Some of them are in family supervision, meaning the kids are in the homes with the parents, or kids that are in foster care that are not with the parents. But we work with parents, children, and all of them, helping set up services, adding different things to try to either rebuild them or just bring out the best strengths within them to just bring them back to a whole. So we work really hard at trying to reunify. That's our number one goal if the kids are removed from the home. And if not, try to find appropriate long-term placement that would either be adoption or legal guardianship, or even like setting them up for APLA, which is aging out of the system, but have them in the least restrictive setting so that they still have contact with family members no matter what the situation is.
Yeah, nice. Thank you, Danny. Heidi, how about you?
Okay. So I do family navigation, and so it's for all Maui Family Support Services programs, and then for the Hawaii Kaika partners. And I do it in multiple ways. I work a lot directly with families, and it's kind of helping guide them, make sure they get connected to what they're trying to get connected to, or signed up for things. Or I also help with getting them some basic needs or concrete supports that they need at the time. And then I also assist families in ways where I work through a provider who is working with the family, and I just coordinate with that provider so then they can access what they need for their family. It always reaches helping the family in the end, but I do it in multiple ways. And then trying to spread it to Molokai and Lanai. Been doing pretty good on Molokai and working with the partners there. Still trying to serve more families in Lanai. I really try to focus on our small communities. But yeah, that's just like a little view of what I do. Thank you.
You're all over the place, Heidi. Ericka, how about you?
I work for Child and Family Service as a case manager for the voluntary case management unit that tries to, as a diversion program that prevents families from going into the family court system or the foster care system, or foster care. I'm also a resource caregiver foster parent, and so I don't want it's very traumatizing in all aspects of the child welfare system. And I really am passionate about not getting people involved and families involved in that side of child welfare services. So that's why we're here.
Yeah. Providing hopefully some preventative measures to keep families together. That's good. Well, the first question is sort of why, and maybe parenthetically, in the world, why in the world would you do this work? Or how did you get into it? Because it is such hard work. Why or how did you get into this work? And maybe we'll start with Heidi this time.
Okay, so my why is so for me, myself as a parent, I've gone through like many of my own struggles with my ohana, from toxic relationships. I've struggled with substance use. I myself, with my children, have gone through the system, and after making these life changes, I I kind of have. I'm still in school for it, but I had this passion. I wanted to become a social worker, and then my practicum kind of led me on to Maui Family, and I've tried a few different things, trying to find where my niche really is. But I know it is working with families. It kind of I have a passion just to want to see, especially other women, be able to see that their lives are not destined to be one way, that if you want to put in the work and you want something different, that is possible. So that's like my driving passion of why, that's like my why I want to work with families. And then I also have a deep appreciation for Maui. I was born and raised here. It's where I want to be. I hope that generations of my family will stay here and continue on. So it's important for me. It's almost like I want to give back what was given to me, and I want to do that here in my community.
So good. Thank you so much, Heidi. Oftentimes, people, especially who were involved in the system, it's like the last thing they want to do is to go back to being like involved in a different way, but still like anything to do with the system they run from. But the fact that you actually came to help those families that could potentially be heading in that direction, I think that is just amazing. And it's really going to take people like you to really transform the system, because you know what it's about and how hard it is. And so thank you so much for giving back to families and to this child welfare system. And in the same spirit, Ericka, you were saying you're a resource parent too, right? And you understand sort of the craze of all of this as well. How did you get into it?
Well, how I got into this whole
work, yeah.
Work, yes. About 8 years ago, I started working at Imoa Family Services as a home visitor. I really just had a passion to go into people's homes and see what was going on, especially working with children. And as that evolved, I wanted to work to create safe homes for children, because not all the homes we visited were safe. There were issues going on. So that kind of led to me working in the child welfare system, as well as my how or why I got into it. When I was younger, I suffered from abuse in my childhood home. And I know what it's like to feel, unseen, not seen by the community. And it wasn't until I was 8 years old that what was happening in my home was brought to light, and that we had, someone came to my house and they saw me, and they, found out what was going on. And so I really advocate for the children that don't have those voices in their own homes, and that's really why I continue to work in this field.
Wow, thank you for sharing that, Ericka. That's a hard story to share, but the fact that actually prompted you to advocate for others, that's also incredible. We have some incredible people on this panel. So we're going to hear more from them. But why don't we go to Danny as well?
Okay, so I think that my main reason for coming into social work, I was very fortunate. I had a really good childhood. I had grew up in a 2-parent home where I had a brother that I fought with like no other, but my house was always considered the open house, and that was to anybody in our neighborhood, in our community. Excuse me. We always had extra people at our table, and our dinner was always at 6. The food was always cooked. There was multiple times where I'd see people on our couch and I just assumed it was like a relative of ours that was extended, and they were just spending the week with us. And there was just multiple times that friends would come over, and I never figured it out until probably 3rd or 4th grade that some of my friends didn't have what I had. And that when they were asking my parents for help, my parents were doing things that weren't the norm for other kids. So I think my parents got me into this.
Oh, we have families that are in need, and then we need families who can provide for that need, right? And before they come to the attention of formal services, it's so important to have this network of neighbors and friends that can actually help house them for a while, or help them with with their car so that they have transportation to go to work. And so these neighborly and just gracious and generous people around us are so needed to be able to really create that community that helps each other. So I'm so glad that your family, your parents, model that for you and your siblings, your brother that you didn't get along with when you were younger, probably, but are probably good friends now. But yeah, we need both, right? In order for us to be a healthy community, we will always have need, but we always need people who can be there for them. So thankful for your parents as well. So then, so that's how you got into this work. But as we talked about, it's very rare to have people who stay in this work. We talk about how, especially in child protection agencies, the average length of employment is 3 years. 3 years and then they're gone. So, it's like, how do we keep going when the need is so astronomical sometimes, right? Especially when you have something like the Maui fires, especially when you have, these natural disasters that just compounds all of the needs that families have. Like, how do you just not say, I give up and then go work for Amazon or, just leave the field completely? Like, how do you like keep going? How about we start with Ericka this time?
For me, I really do think it's just an inner drive that I have. It not necessarily has stemmed from my past, but just it was always just intrinsic. It was in me. I would always have, like, when I was a child, like, my dolls were just my adopted children or my foster children. So it was just a part of me, not even understanding really what that looked like. And what I would get into in the future. But for me, because my family was in a similar program, an intervention program where we started going to therapy. My stepdad and my mom started going to therapy. My stepdad never hit me once after we got involved in the system, and that just shows me, like, if there's like one more child I can see, like just one more, it's not all about having to get involved in the system or removal or, not about that, but just giving parents like a different perspective. That's really what keeps me going, is if I can just share the knowledge or, a new perspective through that intervention. That's really what keeps me going. It's just an inner drive to continue to do this work as a calling for me personally.
Wow. We need to be able to bottle that kind of inner drive for all of us. I think that just sometimes is an innate thing for people. That's right. Heidi, how about you? And for others who are listening, like, if you want to chat in the meeting chat too about like how you keep going, we'd love to hear your stories as well. So Heidi, how about you?
For me, it's kind of similar. I feel like it's just a passion that I have. Just wanting to help other families. I find it rewarding, especially when someone expresses so much gratitude, like for what it could be, like a simple thing that you help them with, and just to see someone, so appreciative. That's rewarding to me. Even like, I would say also, like, I love doing outreach, and sometimes it does take a lot of work to do, and when you're in it and you're getting ready, you're like, oh my gosh. But then when you're out there and you get to talk to people and see people, and I just like that that interaction where it's like you provided them something that they just really needed, even if it's just connecting or talking. So that important, and that feeling that I get, I feel is what keeps me going. I have a love for Maui and Miss Aina and the families here. So to me, it's important in whatever little ways that I can give help, that I do that. It's just, whatever little ways I can. I feel grateful that I'm able to do what I do.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it's kind of like all things that we love and that we value. Like, in the moment, it's super hard, but then when you see their faces, or when see how things have changed or people are grown, that is sort of worth it. There's the worth it factor, right? When you see the families. I love that. I love that, Heidi. Danny?
Yeah, I think that, anybody that's in this field has a passion. There's something driving you, because let's be real. It's not the money. it's
Yeah.
it's the families we're looking
That's real.
at.
Yep.
Yeah, it's the families, it's the kids. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, like the kids here, the teenagers, man, they have my soul. Like the kids that are like the most unwanted and have like the most out of control behaviors because they can't control anything else. They're my drive. Those teens are probably the main reason I keep going with child welfare services, because there is a lot of them. But I will say, like, every time, because I'm sure everybody's been in it at a time where they think they're going to quit, or they're like, let me try something else. Something happens that's just like, oh yeah, this is why I keep going. Even if it's like a simple little letter from like a kid, or a text message from a foster parent, or a parent that just reaches out to you from 6 years ago telling you like, hey, I'm sober, a manager of this, doing that, I'm doing this, and like, just want to thank you. Like, just small things that you see, or you see a kid out in the open that's, you know, helping another kid, which that kid was considered the angry one at school, but you see them like helping somebody in a wheelchair down the road that had nothing to do with it. Like, there's always small things that just keep you going. And I think that that's a big thing for me. Like, I mean, my heart is in this work for sure. And like, I want the families to be families and be whole. But anytime I do think that I'm looking at a different direction, something happens that just really brings me back 100% back into it. So,
Wow. Yeah. I think when you said, you know, the teenagers that you work with have your soul, I think that's, in my mind, that's compassion, right? Like, you just have a compassion for those who are seemingly labeled unlovable, or you know, unworthy, or, you know, just, yeah, to have that kind of compassion for people is definitely something we need in this work, right? Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Danny. So then you have that, you have the, you know, you look at the families, and when you see them smile, and, you know, and actually, you know, like they're on their way to success, and you see the teenagers, and you have compassion for them, and all of that works to help you keep going. But but sometimes you also then need to be able to take care of yourself, fill your inner well, as we've been talking about throughout this conference for some folks. Um, and it's the idea that you can only serve when you're full. Like, to serve from an emptiness is the path to compassion fatigue, is the path to health issues, is the path to a lot of these things that are going to prevent us from continuing this work, right? So what do you do for yourselves? Like, how do you fill your inner well? You know, whether it's kind of what Tia was talking about earlier about, you know, just being in silence for a while, or walking, you know, walking and hiking, or going to the beach. Like, how do you fill your inner wells? And again, participants, please feel free to put what you do in the chat as well. So can we start this time with Heidi? How do you fill your inner well?
Sure. So for me, I really like connecting, talking. I'm really open to like self-reflection, like all that types of things. So one example, since this devastation that happened on August 8th, at Maui Family Support Services, I was able to start just like a little support group, just to connect with other co-workers, you know, focus on some self-care, gratitude, like, and just that hour, to me, it helps, like connecting with others, sharing, like that, the whole talking aspect helps me a lot. And then leaning on my dad and my brother and being able to laugh with them, like Tia mentioned, um, laughing and trying to be silly, because there are times, you know, I try to really stay aware of, like, you know, what I'm feeling, or if, you know, if there's what I'm bringing home with me. So I just try to always be silly, and if I feel that I'm in this heightened state, I just be silly. Like that's something I try to do in my house, or just start singing. And I'm not a good singer, but to just start singing and just to try to find joy in little moments. That helps me. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Heidi. Danny, what do you do?
Yeah, I think that that's huge too, like talking to people, being open, but also having like those moments of silence. My paddleboard is huge, being out on the water and then just being able to just watch the turtles go under and see everything and just to be is a huge thing for me. But I'm also a huge advocate for vacation, whether it be staycation or going somewhere. Like I think that, like I have a hard time turning off my phone or my computer, and I'll still take some phone calls no matter what. But I think a huge thing is like taking that, like don't waste the fact that you were given vacation. Like we need that. Like everybody needs that. You need a time where you can just have your own break and really just focus on yourself and your family and the people around you that are helping support you, because the fact of it is you're probably not realizing how much stuff we put on other people. Like our support people are taking on a lot too. So it's really good for all of us to just take a break and have those moments. Like I've lived with the same person for almost 8 years, and he's a huge support of me. And we tend to take vacation at the same time, different places, but I think it's a really good thing to just really have that in your life and make sure that you make time for it. Like everything can be rescheduled. It's all going to be here when you come back in certain aspects and stuff. But just, accepting the community around you. And I think, especially with the fire that happened, it is unreal to see the support of Maui. Like Maui really stepped up for each other. And I think accepting support and accepting all of that and then taking your breaks because you need it. That's huge.
Right. Thank you, Danny. Last but not least, Ericka.
Yeah, what Danny said too, taking a break, like a vacation. Me personally, I love to go to Kipahulu every other month, for the weekend. So that's like nothing is out there, just me and the tent and my other half or whoever we have. But that definitely fills my inner well, just to be away, and it's a beautiful place as well. But really practicing mindfulness, and boundaries is really, that helps me come from a place where I can continue to serve, kind of like what my other panelist friends have said. But it is like practicing what we preach, like to these families, like we go over all these aspects of, the protective factors. And I find myself, checking those boxes for myself each day. Is like, where am I at with my social connection? Where am I at with nurturing and attachment and whatnot? And really just being focused on like practicing that discipline of boundaries. Even in my meetings, like with families, I will say, like this is a lot, like I'm done for today. Like I'm reached my level. I am gonna, and respectfully, I'm gonna have to end this meeting, or just shooting a text to a participant or a family member saying, I can't, I'm at my capacity today. I need to spend time with my family tonight. I will get back to you tomorrow though. Because it shows them, that we're people too, and that like I'm a mom, or, I have that, and it kind of creates that space or that strength for them to focus or to just see that in themselves as well. And then there was one more thing I was going to say, but yeah, sometimes I will even change my voicemail to "I'm done for today" or "for the weekend." Like you have the strength to get these through your problems like on your own. So
I love that.
a good one too. Yeah.
I need to do that on my voicemail, especially for my kids. You have the strength. You can do it without me.
Yes.
I love that. Thank you, Ericka. I saw this thing somewhere that said, if you don't make time for your wellness, then you'll be forced to make time for your illness, right? And that's so true. Like, if we don't intentionally make time to be well, then we will be forced to deal with our illness. So I think, I hope we take that back from this whole conference about resiliency. It's not just resiliency for our children and families that we serve, but we as workers need to be resilient ourselves. And top of that priority is wellness for our bodies and our minds and our spirits. We are at time. So I just want to thank our panelists and all of you who joined us and listened. And I'm sure there were many times where you said, me too, right? And so thank you for all of the work you do. Thank you for taking the time to actually do something that is good for you. So, oh, what is this one? We have a hand raised from Jen. Is that for us or is
Sorry,
that something else?
that was a mistake. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I was trying to get in the chat room.
Okay. No worries. All right. Well, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of the conference, and we hope to see you around at Ho'okaika Partnership meetings. Mahalo.
Thanks, Kelly. Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Bye-bye.
Mahalo, Nui. That was great. Thank you.
Thank you.